Well, Dave gave us things to think about. Next up is Wally Hamm. Wally is a native of southern Manitoba and now a permanent resident of Saskatchewan, and he brings some 45 years of agricultural experience as a professional agrologist and grain farmer to the organic industry. In 1990, he founded ProCert Organic Systems, a well-known North American certifier. The Hamm family farm was converted to organic production in 1966. He obtained his bachelor and master's degree in agriculture from the University of Manitoba and completed coursework towards a PhD at the University of Saskatchewan. He was highly active in initiating government regulation of the organic food and fiber industry in Canada. Mr. Hamm takes an ongoing interest in the activities of the Canadian Committee on Organic Agriculture, which is responsible for the maintenance of the Canadian Organic Standard. He was the director of the Saskatchewan Soil Testing Laboratory and a soil fertility specialist at the University of Saskatchewan for 12 years. And I remember Wally was one of the instructors at the School of Agriculture that I went to a long time ago. He has an agricultural environmental consulting, he was an agricultural environmental consultant specializing in soil, crop, and water damage assessment for a subsequent 20-year period. He is convinced that the economic, environmental, and social advantages of organic over conventional agriculture will persist well into the 21st century and beyond. In his leisure time, he flies a Piper Cherokee out of Hangar 16 at the Saskatoon Airport. Retirement is not an option. Wally.
Thank you.
Sure. Not to worry, I'm not going to talk. Wally just gave me the chance to push his buttons, and I'm going to turn it down.
Thank you, Mark. He earlier coined this session as the Dag and Wally show, similar to a dog and pony show. A couple of things on the introduction. We did convert the farm in 96, or 66, because we didn't have one, but we did it in 96. And also, this business about coursework for a PhD makes me almost a doctor, okay? So that's where it's at. I'm going to be talking about numbers, and I am definitely interested in the future of farming, and not just organic farming. This is about the future of mankind, actually, is what we're going to be talking about, because farming is about food, and mankind depends on food, clothing, and shelter, okay? But before I go into the numbers, I want to take a little bit of liberty with this group. It's quite a large group. And talk about where this is all going, okay? So in assessing the future of farming in Western Canada, which is where we are, but North America and globally as well, the key to the future is often the past, okay? And Daddy's given us some pretty good background on the past. He's also mentioned about where what I call industrial agriculture, and also we call conventional agriculture, be kind to it, is going, okay? And this is important because somewhere in the past, our ancestors were nomads, okay? They were aboriginals. The original aboriginal, is that a new term? Can we coin that, patent it? They were wandering around, hunting and gathering, and following the herds across Europe, Africa, all parts of the globe, okay? At some point in the Fertile Crescent, and this is, I think, Diamond Jarrett that reminded me of this recently in his book called Blood, Germs, and Steel. He says, in the Fertile Crescent, which is the Middle East now, the most war-torn area in the world, they decided that they would rather settle down. To do that, they had to start agriculture. They had to domesticate plants and animals and become sedentary and would have farms and have peasants and have a middle class and have cities and have villages, okay? That was the beginning of agriculture. That was the history. The historians tell me that's 14,000 years ago. Okay, so agriculture actually started somewhere around 14,000 years ago. And really, agriculture as such, until very recently, has been the same. My father actually walked behind a diamond harrow, but it was steel, I believe, or it could have been iron, but I suspect it was steel. Cain and Abel, for those of you that have a Christian background, in that era, they had wooden harrows and wooden plows. There's the only difference. Agriculture was much the same. Now we have GPS. You don't have to, first of all, you don't have to walk behind the arrows. You got an air-conditioned cab, and you don't have to steer any. The tractor does it for you. If you have a lot of sloughs, that can be an issue. Okay, it has been an issue for conventional agriculture. So agriculture as such, though, tillage was there. Okay, they made a few mistakes, our ancestors. One of the things they did, for instance, they moved us away from zero tillage. They said, we're going to select and breed annual crops. Wheat originally was perennial. All the grasses were perennial. All the wheats. Flax was a perennial. Okay, so they said we're going to have annual crops because then we can gather seed, we can move around, we can export, and we can do things with seeds. Okay, that's where the whole seed business came from. We would be zero tillage now if we were growing perennial wheat. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that happened in those 14,000 years. That history is solid. All we've done in organic agriculture, and it's taken me a long time to figure this out, is we've codified traditional agriculture as it was practiced for 14,000 years and called it organic agriculture. Okay, so let's make that link. Let's link ourselves with the past. So we have, as far as determining the future of farming, some very good history, which says it's got a 14,000-year track record. Okay, so now let's switch over to industrial agriculture. I use that word because it's kind of a little more derogatory than conventional. It's a little more bite. We don't like the thought of industrial farming, do we? But it is. Okay, that particular experiment has only lasted for 70 years. 70 years. We got, what, 2,000 times much more experience in traditional and organic and agriculture than these conventional industrial people with all the big rigs and the GPS and the fertilizer based on non-renewable resources, including phosphorus, which has a finite point of view. The nitrogen is based on energy. To make ammonia, you have to use a natural gas, okay, and carbon dioxide. So you have energy, which is a little bit more nebulous and a little more seems to have a little more future. But rock phosphate, which is a source of fertilizer, phosphorus, is a finite resource. Okay, it's finite. Once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, so this whole business of this 70-year experience of intensive agriculture, industrial agriculture, conventional agriculture has 70 years of experience, and we know today. Yesterday we heard about the declining usefulness of herbicides in pulse crops. Okay, that's a decline. There is no new chemistry to control weeds in pulse crops. There's no new chemistry. They're now talking about using the same equipment that we're going to be using, and we are using, for weed control in organic agriculture. Rotary hose. Big business now, because the pulse growers are going to start using it in conventional agriculture. So that having all that background information, so organic agriculture, codified traditional agriculture, has tremendous history. Okay. The question today for mankind, and we're going to spend a little more time on this than I'd like, so I hope somebody's keeping time here, is what for, especially that portion dependent on industrial agriculture for future survival, is when and not if industrial agriculture runs out of steam. That is, non-renewable resources, effective pesticides, etc. Can traditional / organic agriculture feed the world? That's the big question. Okay, and it's been moving around. The answer 5 years ago, even in my shallow thinking, is no. We're just going to feed the elite. We're going to feed the affluent, and this is a niche market. Here's where we're at. That's changing. That's changing as we speak. Okay. Yesterday, I spoke to some of you, perhaps a few more, and we sort of established firstly that our soils have the ability to supply nutrients indefinitely under an organic agriculture regime. They've done it for 14,000 years, and I suspect they can do it for another 14,000 years. The only problem we have is we have to start recycling human sewage, okay? Because right now, phosphorus and all the other nutrients that we take out of our soils are not coming back to us. They're going down urban sewers and rivers and streams to the ocean. So that is the challenge about non-renewable soils, non-renewable resources in soils in organic agriculture. And yesterday I also told the group that we have something like 300 years of phosphorus supply left in the top 6 feet of our soils. So we do have about 300 years to figure out this problem about recycling nutrients in the human race. Okay? A few other assumptions that we have to make if we want to say that we can feed the world. Number one is that all the food that we produce, okay, in agriculture must be fed to humans. Okay? You take away all that food that's going to animals, okay, pets. We take away all the food that's going away to fuel now. Food for fuel thing. It's an abomination is what it is, the notion of feeding food, using food for fuel. My father would never have accepted that. Neither would my grandfather. Okay? We're accepting it apparently. I'm not, but I mean the society seems to be. And then there's the 43% of the food that we produce that humans waste in the process of eating it, or getting it from the field to the table. So if we eliminate those things, and we will, because the cost of food will drive this, okay? And we use good agricultural land for food production, not for houses, and marginal land for animals, for those of us that will still be able to afford meat and milk. Then, I think, with those assumptions in place, and that one thing about recycling our nutrients, we can and will feed the world with organic agriculture. Okay? That's my statement today. It's the first time I've said that in a group larger than my family or my office. Okay? I feel comfortable with that now, because before I wasn't sure. Okay? So that's the beginning. That's my introduction. Sorry. Now, who's keeping time here?
I'm keeping you.
Good. I'm going to have to speed up.
You got 11, about halfway.
Okay, so I'm going to really have to hurry up. The good stuff that I'm going to talk about today is really designed for the two people that are in this room who may or may not be interested in organic agriculture. Firstly. Secondly, it's designed for the rest of us who want to make very sure that we stay in organic agriculture. Okay? So this is an ambivalent, ambidextrous document, both hands. Okay? One of them is a magazine which we published. It was an idea that we had. Actually came out of that meeting in January in Port Capel. Okay? And we said, we got to get something out that clearly states the difference between organic and conventional agriculture in dollars and cents. Okay, very simple language. There's a very simple language in here. And behind that, we have a white paper, which has all the numbers that I'm going to be talking about today in it. And that's going to be available at our booth, Byron. Is it here today, in this room? As well, is it in the back?
No, it's at the booth.
It's at the booth, so come by and pick them up for free. Everything I'm going to say about today is in here pretty well, from here on in, okay? So let's move down the thing here, organic advantages. Let's talk about that. First of all, this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to start about this economics, okay? And the eggs talked about the social, environmental, health, and other things. Now, there are a lot of things that are in our favor when it comes to organic. Let's move to the next slide. Let's focus right in on the economic advantages of organic agriculture in grain farming, okay? And there's about 7 or 8 of them. I think there's 6 of them there. The first of all is the grain price advantage, and I'll get into that a bit. Then there's the variable cost advantage, the cost of farming, okay, organic versus conventional, which is particularly true here. I'm going to show one slide that contradicts that for the eastern side of this country. Land, equipment, and building costs, we'll find they're also a lot less onerous and much easier for new entrants to get in. And then, of course, associated with all that is a risk advantage, and then the true sustainability advantage. Okay, next slide. So here we have numbers. Can we all see those numbers? They're a little bit small. Can we roll that up a little bit, or is that going to hurt?
I don't think so, but we can focus.
We can read it, Wally.
Yeah, the front row can read it. The rest of you are going to have to come to our booth to get the numbers. So the point here really is simple. If you look on the right-hand side, and I didn't use the word premium. I think we've got to outlaw that word. We can't outlaw. We're not in that business of being politically correct. We're going to discourage the use of the word premium because 20 years ago, organic wheat and other crops were priced as a premium over conventional. The last 5 years, 10 years, the price relationship with demand and supply has been its own. Organic has its own supply, demand, price dynamic. That's big. That's a big change. It's no longer a premium. Let's just continue the use of that term. we now have a supply and demand relationship. So we have a differential, a price differential, or we have a price advantage, okay? That's new terminology. Every day you have to learn something new. Learn that today and you got something, okay? That differential, that advantage is between 200 and 300% right now. Yes, question?
Is that this year's prices?
Those prices were chosen to last us through the next 2 or 3 years with this magazine. And we have looked at them again this recently, and they're pretty close. I think right now, for instance, flax is right on the money. We're getting $30 a bushel, actually plus. It's 30 to 35 right now. And conventional flax is just moving back up towards 12. It was hanging around 8 and 9. And I heard it just moved up to 12. So we've chosen some prices here that will sort of survive the 3-year test of time. Anything beyond 3 years is no longer an estimate. It's no longer a guesstimate. It's just, what is that? 3 years, what 3 years? That's about all you can do in the future. So this sort of represents where we are. Generally conservative on the organic side right now, and maybe a little optimistic on the conventional prices. Okay, we have a price advantage. Okay, and that's true in eastern Canada as well. Even in Manitoba, it's true. Okay, so let's move on then to the organic cost of production advantage. And this gets interesting because recently I teamed up with Hugh Martin. Because Tomas Nemo asked me to make this presentation in Ontario, and I said, whoa, this is not my territory. My turf is Western Canada. And so Hughes did the numbers for me. And there isn't a cost of production advantage. I'll get to that in a few moments. But here we have a substantial cost of production advantage. We were extensive agriculture. Ontario is intensive, even in organics, okay? So we spend about half as much as our conventional neighbors per acre, okay? So that's a powerful advantage. So now you have 2 advantages if you're going to stay or you want to enter into organic agriculture. Okay, so then we have this next slide just quickly, and I'm not going to spend much time. I haven't done the research, but it's implicit in all this. And we're going to say that we need to have as much land, we need to have as much cooking, we need to have as much bins. So there's a major advantage in terms of fixed costs, how much money you have to spend or borrow to become an organic farmer or to be an organic farmer. Okay. And then let's move into the tables here, which are the meat of my presentation today. And this is the black soil zone. Okay. What is that? That runs from Oxbow all the way to North Battleford and into Edmonton. Okay. It's fairly thick black soil. Some of the soils you saw yesterday on Andy Heimermeister's show, the black profile, even after you plow it, it's still black. 10, 11, 12% organic matter. Anywhere from 6 to 10, let's say. So this is a large belt that runs from Manitoba all the way to Edmonton. Okay. So it's a good land. I'm going to show you some others as well. And then what we did is we set up a 5-year rotation. Silage pea, plowdown, flax, green peas, spring wheat, and oats. And we ran that for 5 years. And we asked the experts, the other people, the Ian Cushins, the Brent Blackwells, or Blackburns, and so on, about yields. And we put this together. And we used the prices I showed you a moment ago. And then we did some variable cost calculations. And then we did some gross return calculations and some net returns. So I'm just going to walk over here. Number one, well, the most important number here is this. But before I go there, there's a mistake in this slide. In the first line, I'll give you a hint. What is it? And Cody, don't worry about it. It's a good idea.
Would you use animals to graze that?
We haven't got it. This is a very simple model, okay? But this actually should have been 70. And this number here should have been 70 minus, should have been brackets, okay? But don't worry, the numbers here are correct. That's just a typo. Okay? There's another mistake which is way more difficult. In fact, it's not a mistake, it's an omission. Is the fact that in the first line, I have given no value to silage peas. Plowed down. That's because this is on a cash basis. If this was an accrual basis, and I did the numbers for that here somewhere, the 4 tons of silage peas that you would grow in the black soil zone, dry matter, valued at $80 a ton, the actual gross returns would be $320 per acre. And your net returns would be $250 per acre on your silage here. Okay? But that's not something you can sell. You've accrued it, you've reinvested it in your farm. So this is a cash comparison. Our conventional guys, they sell everything off the farm. Okay? They sell the bales, they sell everything. We return $250 every 5 years into our farm in terms of nutrients, right? So there's 2 mistakes in this, Dan. One is a typo, but one is a conceptual thing. Silage, peas, plowed out has value. But we're doing a cash comparison here. I just want to bring that up, okay? So then at the end of the day, we produce 28 bushels per acre per year on average. Okay, and in a moment you're going to see that that's 56 bushels per acre per year for average on a conventional farm, which is a little different than rodeo. But then when you think that we've taken out 4 tons out of the yield thing, that average is conservative. Okay, so again, it affects our numbers. Again, we shouldn't be worrying about yields per acre. That's kind of a game you have in grade 9. My head's bigger than your head, or my something's bigger than yours. Okay, let's not go there. It's not productive. Okay. On the other slide, let's go to the next slide now. Here's our conventional counterparts. I got to put my glasses on so I can see that. There we have canola, spring wheat, green peas, canola, spring wheat, oats. We had to go 6 years to make that work. It's the averages that matter. It doesn't matter how long the rotation is. And we come up with 54 bushels of saleable product per acre per year. And we used their yields. I got these yields, incidentally, in consulting with Ken Rosasset. He's almost a doctor, too, by the way, at the University of Saskatchewan. And his third-year Ag Econ class. They criticized I had a draft of this, and they asked me to speak on organics, and I said, okay, I'll speak to you, but I want feedback. So I made this presentation. And they said, yes, your organic is great, but your numbers for conventional are wrong. We don't grow canola every 4 years anymore. We grow it back to back. Wow. Oh, I said, well, that's why you have clubroot. And that's why you have disease. No. We have fungicides for that. You see, we had this little debate. Well, I said, for the purposes of this meeting and then for this magazine, I'm going to use good agrology. And I'm going to move you up to 4 years. Bingo, I was the boss. Okay, so that's what we did. Because their numbers would have looked better if they had more canola at $16 a bushel or whatever. What did we use there in that particular example? 9. But they've had 16 recently, right? So they've gone bananas over that 16. They ruined their entire crop.
So are they getting fungicide for free?
No. The question was, are the fungicides free? No, they're not.
The only way the numbers look.
So this is an interesting document. Let's quickly move. My time is fading. There we go. Net returns then. Let's look at this. This is the end product. Gross returns, again, as the rodeo showed, similar. Okay, I'm interested in gross because gross is of interest. Variable cost, very much different. And then net return. Net returns here. The next slide, we'll summarize that. Another one. Let's go another one. Here. I'm going to come back to the other one. Organic farmers spend half as much and make twice as much per acre as conventional farmers. I love that. That's my punchline for this particular set of work. I spent a lot of hours on this baby, but that's the punchline, and it's true. I haven't heard anything since January of this year that says that's wrong. Okay, but let's move back one now. Okay, because we didn't forget about the brown and dark brown people. Many of you whom are here in this room, we didn't forget about you. And the white paper has all the numbers. There's scabs of them. You don't want to see them. All you want to see is this one, where it says that in the dark browns, you average about $257 per acre cash net return on your variable costs. And if you're drier, you make a little less, you get $237 per acre. Those are pretty reasonable numbers, and I'm looking for a criticism. If there's something in that white paper that's wrong, let me know about it, give me a call, okay? So that's my time out. Over?
Yeah.
Okay, talk too much to start with, okay. But this is what I came here to say about that. This is really, let's just flick through a few more here. I'll maybe just shut down. There's one other thing. This is the Dag phallic influence, this table. Dag comes from Norway. It's dark and gloomy there. They never see the sun. We are in the sunshine province. We always look at the world from a rosy perspective. He said, Wally, you need a column in there that show, and he did the work, by the way. What happens if we slide right down to conventional prices? Well, I put the column in red, but we're not in the red. Because we're not using non-renewable resources, fertilizers, we can't grow as much. Okay, we saw that in the yield. So then we don't make as much as our neighbors if we're going to get conventional prices. So there's the hooker here. Okay, and the real hooker, I think there's something on one of our slides here. Maybe it's in my notes. We really have to worry about let's see if I can get out here somewhere. No, I think it's in my notes. We really have to worry about the sustainability of the price advantage. That's the big hooker. And I shouldn't use that word, that's got a negative connotation. That is the critical issue. facing us if we are in organic agriculture or if we're considering it. And the reason why I'm not unhappy about talking to all of you who are members of the fold is that you're all going to go out and evangelize after this, right? You're going to spread those magazines and you're going to recruit new producers so that Dad can keep Nature's Path going, right? That's the whole point here, because we are not meeting demand in North America, never mind Canada, okay? So I'm going to just wrap up. There's one other slide I want to see. I want to go on Ontario, because we have people from Eastern Canada perhaps here. And there the picture is quite different. You see the variable costs there? And I phoned Hugh about this. I said, Hugh, what's going on? He says, Wally, in Ontario, the cost of producing corn, wheat, spelt, and soybeans in rotation for organic farmers on a continuous basis is just as high as it is for conventional. They have to buy manure, compost it, spread it. They have higher labor costs. They do actually do weeding. Okay, they have other costs that we don't have here in our extensive farming. And I'll be talking more about this when I hit Guelph in January. So we're going to do it. Laura Telford and I are going to do a table like this for Manitoba, because I'm sure it's going to be different. Maybe it'll be in between somewhere. I think you are growing some corn, organic corn and soybeans in Manitoba. So we're going to have to change the table a little bit when we talk about Manitoba. Okay. So let's just flip through these. Is there any final thoughts? No, let's leave it at that. I think our time's up. I think now we should open it to question and discussions. Okay. Thank you.